So I've been doing a lot of play testing with Maze of the Master, and no, I'm not talking about the Odeon stuff that is unfortunately not all that great. Been doing a lot of testing with 7 Tachyon because it's really good. And it's a good card. It's not a great card. Let's dive on into it, shall we? And no, it does not warrant the $100 price tag for a pre-order. Holy balls. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is your host with the most, Avery LR32 here, and destroy the ever-living boo-boo staying off that like and subscribe button as we climb even higher the 1500 ladder. And as I scooch in closer to the camera to look at your pretty little face. No, that's just because I was a little too far away from my mic, and I don't feel like having to up the gain in post-production. I did that on the actual mic a couple days ago, so it's actually easier to hear my voice in post-production. The insane editing these coming out. Anyways, hope you're all having a fantastic day. Really do appreciate all the love and support. Want to talk about 7th Tachyon, and shout out to our homie Valley D for picking up my play sets while I was at work the other day. And we got our play sets for like, what was it, $50 to $55 a piece. So for 6 copies, he ended up paying like $330 on Gamer's Choice with the What's Good 5 discount code that I hate using for creators because I just think it's kind of dumb. But you know what? It saved him money. It is what it is. Cost me $165 for my playset, right? After shipping and handling and whatever. But now I'm looking on TCG Player, and at least when I last checked about an hour or so ago, pre-orders for the regular secret rares were like $100 a piece, and the collector's rares sold out like instantly. Gamer's Choice is actually really good with pre-orders. They actually already upped the prices of their 7th Tachyon. It's like $65 a piece. I don't know if they're still that, but if you can get them for under $100, I guess go for it. And the reason why I say that the card is good but not great, someone actually posted on Reddit a while back when the card first came out, and I'm going to pull it up here because it's actually crazy, the math that this card pulls off, like the number of cards it can search. So this person had posted, it can search 775 level 4s by type, 1,312 level 4s by attribute, some of those overlap, and any light or dragon level 8 or 9, 125 level 5s by type, 255 by attribute, again some overlap, and it's also more copies of Miscellaneous Sarasaurus, which is always adorable because that card's broken AF. But the reason why I say all this is because as great as this card is, as cool that 7th Ascension can get you to it and all that good jazz, you know what it gets hit hard by? Droll and Lockbird, ladies and gentlemen. And Droll and Lockbird is fucking nuts, this format. Because you have to think, especially in the position of a Rise-All player, me, you're playing 3 copies of Bonfire, you're playing 3 copies of 7th Tachyon, maybe you're playing some copies of 7th Ascension, which I really don't recommend because you're just going to get kicked in the nuts again by Droll. And if you're on Fiendsmith cards, you're just going to be still getting hit hard by Droll. Engraver in Detract, Droll, you gonna finish that pizza? Yeah, it tastes good, don't it, Sugar Boo Bear? And then you're crapping your pants if you don't have an Ice Rise-All. Because the thing is with Rise-All is if you are at least opening or have access to Ice Rise-All, that's going to be your first play because that establishes 2 level 4s. Ideally, you're opening up Ice. You're going to go summon Ice into X. X effect gets Sword. On Res, they Droll. You don't care because you can at least summon the Sword and make a 3 material detonator. And if the opponent is like main decking Book of Moon, Ultimate Slayer, or Metal Tronus to out your detonator in game 1, that's just Yu-Gi-Oh! At that point. They're playing a dog shit deck at that point. Like, if you lose that, that's just Yu-Gi-Oh! That's variance at that point. You see what I mean? So, I've been doing a bunch of testing, and what I've been trying to figure out with Rise-All, of course, we've been messing around with the shark cards and things, but again, even with the shark cards, you still run into the problem of fucking Droll and Lockbird. Like, Droll is something I've been back and forth on with whether or not it should be banned because I feel like Floodgate hand traps are a very slippery slope, and Dimension Shifter, I feel, is the perfect example of that. Where Shifter is such a good Floodgate hand trap that basically lasts for 2 turns, yours and the opponent's, or the opponent's and yours whenever you play it, that it creates turn skips. And anytime that something like Droll can create turn skips, I feel is not good. At the same time, though, if someone, or whether it's you or the opponent, whatever, if there is a player who's playing a deck that just dies to 1 Ash or dies to 1 Droll, I feel like that is more of a deck creation problem than it is a hand trap problem. You know, it's kind of like how players, even to this day, I would say, not even years ago, but it's kind of like how a lot of players will say, oh, I hate hand traps. Hand traps, all of them need to be banned and bring back banned cards because my deck dies to 1 Ash. Like, if your deck dies to 1 Ash, that's a fucking you problem because 99.99% of decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! Nowadays can play through 1 Ash unless, like, they just brick, at which point you were losing the ball game anyway, which I've talked about hitting hand traps in the past. I would still like to see them hit in some capacity, but I don't agree with the sense of, yes, let's ban them all because my deck dies to 1 Ash. That's not why they should be hit. They should be hit because of the fact that people can play 15 to 20 of them and not lose any sort of consistency in their deck. But I digress. The biggest thing with 7 Tachyon 2 is that it's also not a good top deck. It's not Bonfire 2.0, where if you top deck Bonfire and Rise All, you're going to go Bonfire into Ice, Ice into X to get Sword, you're playing the game. 7 Tachyon, you top deck it, which is something even I've overlooked that I think a lot of people forget. You activate 7 Tachyon, you get, say, Ice, Rise All, or you're surfacing Big Jaws. You got to put a card back on the top of your deck. So if you top deck 7 Tachyon, whatever you get is just going to go to the top of the deck. And then you're crapping your pants because you cannot do anything unless you just cheat the opponent and you just add the Ice Rise All and you just keep playing the game and you don't top deck nothing. Like, that's going to probably happen to somebody. But the biggest thing that is good with it is that it does give you extra searching to a sense of redundancy along with 7th Ascension if you're just not concerned about draw for whatever reason. With the shark cards, being able to play something like Surfacing Big Jaws is really good, and I would argue it's better than a Fiendsmith engine in that regard, because you're able to make it totally awesome by summon number 4, which outs Nib and, well, just in general, it outs Nib plus 1. And by that I mean Nib plus Valor, Nib plus Imperm, Nib plus what the fuck ever, because you're tributing the Toad for cost, so they can't follow up with Imperm or Valor. Whereas in Fiendsmith, you got the Necroquip, you summon out the Engraver, usually summon number 5, they nib you, okay cool, you outed the nib, now you can go, like, say, summon Sword or whatever. Or if you're big brain like your boy, after you make the Lacrima, you summon out Ice into X, X is summon number 5, you get the Sword, you get your X search, and then you can make Duo Drive. They either have to nib you, or if they negate the Duo Drive, then you just continue to make the Wave Hiking, and then you bait out nib, and then you keep playing. So in that regard, if you're going that far into that combo line, sure, I guess you could argue that the Fiendsmith engine is better in that regard. And that's what really interests me about this, is that are we going to see Rizal decks piloting 7th Tachyon with shark cards in order to get around Nib plus Imperm by making Toad? Unless, like, they just Imperm the Bahamut, at which point you're probably going to be losing the game anyway. But to get around that, or are they just going to keep on playing Fiendsmith cards? And this is sort of the argument I've been having back and forth with myself, is that I'm like, do I keep playing Fiendsmith Rizal with the fucking bricks and all, or do I play a small package of shark cards, and by small I mean as small as it could be, of just 1 Surfacing Big Jaws and 1 Drake Shark? And what's nice, though, too, is that even if you open up the Drake Shark in that sense, it's not as bad of a brick as, like, opening Lacrima or Lurie, even though they're not terrible bricks, but you really don't want to see them. And in Fiendsmith of Paradise just being pretty much a straight brick if you don't have, like, Ice Rise All to discard it and summon it. You can at least go 7th Tachyon, search, say, like, Ice Rise All or Big Jaws, whatever, and then you can top deck the Drake Shark. But again, the biggest issue is Droll, and I think that as good as 7th Tachyon is, and as splashable as it is, I mean, whether it's for the Tachyon deck itself, whether it's you're playing the new Odeon deck because you can go 7th Tachyon to reveal Giant Hand, it's a rank 4 Earth, that gets you a level 4 Earth in your deck, so you can get Man with the Mark, or Man in the Mirror, if we're quoting the Michael Jackson song. It gets you to Man in the Mark, or Man with the Mark. I can't even name the fucking card right. It's like after 11 o'clock at night. And so it's going to be interesting to see how the format evolves around this. Do I think 7 Tachyon needs to be hit? Yeah, because it searches so many cards, it's insane. But if you are a rogue player, hell, even if you're a stun player, 7th Tachyon being able to get you that search is pretty good. you're not really going to get hurt by much as Droll, but you also open yourself up to something like, say, Ash, which can really hurt you as a stun player, where one hand trap can really kind of ruin your day, especially like if you don't open up X-Trap and the opponent ashes that, then it's like, okay, well, I didn't open the X-Trap, now I got to go 7th Tachyon, reveal whatever, and then they're like, oh, he's playing stun, I'm going to just ash that, and then you don't even get to your, your Falsadina, your barrier statue, whatever the case may be. But I think the card's absolutely overpriced. I'm really worried that Rizal players are going to keep playing Fiendsmith cards despite the release of 7th Tachyon. They're not going to go to shark cards, because I just sold my Fiendsmith engine for like the 3rd or 4th time now, and I made $130, and I don't want to have to repurchase it for like the 3rd or 4th time at this point. I'd rather just play the shark cards and hope to God I don't brick on the fucking Drake Shark. But only time will tell, and I think that 7th Tachyon, price-wise, is definitely overhyped. It's a $40 to $50 card max. But if you have an event coming up, if you're going to the Team YCS in Vegas, yeah, you're going to have to pay that inflated price. But if you were smart, you jumped on something like Gamer's Choice. Like you were ready to make that play to get your 3 copies so that you were set. But if you're just kind of sitting on the fence, just wait. But I don't think the card's as good as it is. I think the TCG player base is going to be playing outs for it, like Droll or Ash, whatever. Especially Droll. God, getting Surfacing Big Jaws to your hand and then getting hit with a Droll and then you're playing with a dead card in your hand blows ass. Guys, let me know what you think down in the comments below. What do y'all do in this format? Are y'all going to be playing this card? Are y'all just taking it easy? Guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.